I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and when the current generation BMW M340i came out, I said it was nice and all, but you probably shouldn't bother with it because the 330i was the peach of the range and it was 30 grand cheaper than the 6-cylinder. Well, fast forward to 2023 and the LCI facelift version of the 3 Series and the tables have completely turned. BMW Australia has repeatedly increased the price of the 320i and the 330i versions of the 3 Series to the point where the 340i is now only 10 grand more expensive than the 330i. So all of a sudden, this car has become the value pick of the 3 Series lineup. And in fact, this car might be the best car under 120 grand drive away that you can buy here in Australia. Its depth of engineering is so great, its talents are so broad, it's so attractive, not being an SUV and not having to wear that gopping new BMW front end. This could be the perfect vehicle in the BMW lineup. Keen to know your views down below in the comments, but in this video, we're gonna crack on with everything we love to do on our Chasing Cars independent reviews. We're gonna launch the 340i, we're gonna drive it, we're gonna check out the interior, which is finished in Cognac tan, elite spec, and I'm gonna give you my recommendation about whether you should buy this car. Before we get started, hit subscribe. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by Direct. Now, BMW Australia might have burdened this car with the M Sport Pro package and a black grille that I really wouldn't have, but under the bonnet is a phenomenal engine. This car is basically the Toyota Supra sedan. It's got the BMW B58 straight 6 single turbocharged engine with 285 kilowatts of power and 500 Newton meters of torque, which sounds like plenty. It's enough to get this car off the line incredibly quickly, and it's enough to school the new AMG C43 in nearly every way. Clearly, I'm on the same wavelength as somebody responsible for ordering new press cars at BMW Australia, because this M340i's combination of Skyscraper Grey over Cognac Leather is clearly elite tier. It presents beautifully. But more importantly, the 3 Series interior is better than just being skin deep in terms of its beauty. It's also built well. I actually think this car might have the best build quality in the segment right now, although the Audi S4 is also right up there. Now, the 3 Series just got a facelift. The main thing that it changed was a few of the design elements outside, plus the introduction of this pretty impressive looking display unit in the cabin. It's one long piece of glass. It's split into a 14.9-inch touchscreen in the center and a 12.3-inch digital driver's display. The software itself looks cool. It's got a very Art Deco sort of aesthetic. It's like 1930s glamour. That's cool, a bit random, but it looks good. And the software itself works reasonably well, although it's not as easy to use as the pre-facelift 3 Series, which had an older operating system and it had physical climate controls. For whatever reason, given no one seems to like digital climate controls, BMW has put them into the touchscreen where they're just harder and more annoying to use, but almost everything else can still be driven through this rotary iDrive controller that remains the very best in the business, and there are hard keys on the steering wheel, not those annoying touch buttons that you're starting to get on a whole bunch of other cars. Speaking of the steering wheel, it's really thick, but it's covered in soft leather. You've got paddle shifters, and it's round, not a flat bottom steering wheel. Round is the shape wheels are supposed to be in. Fight me in the comments if you disagree. This being the M340i, we've got really nice sports seats. They're really shapely, they're incredibly comfortable, plenty of electric adjustment, lumbar, memory, and heating for the front seats. You can upgrade further to merino leather with heating. With cooling, I should say. It's an expensive option. For me, a light colored leather like this Cognac doesn't really need cooling. I'd be happy as it is. You also get a great Harman Kardon stereo with really good fidelity in this car. That's great. All the material quality, the build quality, it just feels incredibly well put together and tight, which is what you expect when you're paying 6 figures, but not always what you get, trust me. In terms of storage, we've got a shallow bin between the seats with USB-C, old style USB up here, wireless charging that actually works. Again, that doesn't always work. Cup holders are good, door bins are of a decent size, and the visibility out is pretty good too. Plus, you get a porthole sunroof on the M340i. Here in the back seat, you really benefit from the 3 Series having a surprisingly long wheelbase. Interestingly, EV manufacturers are always talking up the incredibly long 2800, 2900 millimeter wheelbase on their EVs. Well, the 3 Series has a wheelbase that's just under 2900 mil as well. And you can tell that the legroom in the back has really gained an advantage from that. So sitting behind my own driving position, I've got excellent leg room. Toe room is pretty bad though, because these front seats go low and they're quite shapely. In terms of headroom, it's good. There's plenty for me at 6 foot. You wouldn't want to be sitting in the middle seat. It is a perch. The hump in the floor is super high, but as a vehicle for transporting 4 adults or 2 parents and tall teenagers or something like that, this is going to work absolutely fine. I would want to check that a rearwards facing baby seat was going to fit in here, so make sure you take that down to the dealership if you're thinking about using this car for a younger family. You do get air vents though, separate temperature and climate zone, 2 USB-C ports, all of those good materials carry through to the back, and you get an armrest here. Feels a little flimsier than some, but whatever. 2 cup holders in there, and the bench is inclined so as to support your legs, so sitting in the back seat of the M340i is not a misery. Of course, it would be even better if it was available in station wagon, but you can only get a 4-cylinder 3 Series wagon here in Australia. Still, that's better than Mercedes, who doesn't let you have a wagon at all. So, good back seat. Shame the 340i doesn't come in wagon. Now, moving to the back, let's talk about the color for a sec. This is Skyscraper Grey. Grey cars don't usually excite me, but as grey goes, this is a really good one. It's a deep color, it looks fantastic. Personally, I wouldn't go the black pack on this car. Get rid of M Sport Pro, just get rid of it, because as standard, the M340i comes with really nice, I think it's ferric grey or something like that, accents. Nice grey accents around the car anyway. But here at the back, it's a handsome looking vehicle. This new diffuser is way overdone on all LCI versions of the 3 Series, but you can ignore that. And opening the boot, we've got a power tailgate on this car. 3 Series sedan has a good sized boot. The aperture's kind of narrow, but you're going to be able to get a bunch of suitcases in there. You've also got 40-20-40 folding rear seats, which is a good and unusual feature for a sedan. In Europe, they're incredibly lucky. They can get an M340i touring wagon. They can even get 6-cylinder diesel touring wagons, which just sounds amazing to me. Here in Australia, you can only get the wagon with the 330i, which is now a little bit too expensive. Now, interestingly, this car has a semiconductor shortage issue. Even though it's got a power tailgate, you'll notice it's missing a button to lock the car. That's because, crazily, this M340i doesn't have passive entry and locking. You actually have to hit the button on the key to unlock this car. A lot of BMWs are being delivered that way temporarily. When it comes to running costs, you'd normally assume that a turbocharged 6-cylinder sports sedan from a luxury manufacturer would be costly to keep on the road. But in this case, you'd be absolutely wrong, because stunningly, the B58 6-cylinder engine is incredibly efficient in this car. BMW claims under 7 litres per 100 k's highway and just over 10 for urban, and those claims are about right. I took this car on a spirited drive, so I needed a bit of highway to get there and then a whole bunch of country road blasting, and you know what figure I got? 7.2 litres per 100 k's, which I think is laughably low for a car with 6 cylinders and 285 kilowatts of power. In town, 11-12 litres per 100 k's, it's good enough. The car needs premium fuel, of course, but what's interesting is how much more economical this vehicle is than the new 4-cylinder C43, which I was only able to get 14 litres per 100 k's out of. So kudos to this BMW engine. The warranty on the car is now 5 years unlimited Ks as of the start of 2023. In terms of insurance, in the last 12 months, the median budget direct customer spent $1,367 to comprehensively insure a new BMW 3 Series. Everybody's situation varies, and your premium will vary based on things insurers take into account, like where you live, your driving history, and how you garage the car. In terms of servicing, you can buy an upfront 5-year, 80,000 K service plan, just over $2,000. That's a no-brainer. Get it out of sight, out of mind, and you don't have to open your wallet when you get the car serviced. How good? One of the best things about the M340i is the way this car drives. Let's go and have a crack. So we're at our test track today, which is designed to simulate a country road here in New South Wales, and it gives us a good opportunity to bring this car out a bit. Yes! 6 cylinders just munches a 4-cylinder rival in this class, not just because it sounds good, but because it's girthy, muscular. You can just tell that it's really packing a pretty significant amount of punch, and it is. But one thing I love about the 340i is that it doesn't really show it from outside. It's, you know, unlike the M3, it doesn't shout about its performance abilities, and in so many ways I actually prefer this car to the BMW M3. I'd still absolutely rock a base model M3 manual. I think that's a really great car, and unfortunately you can't get the M340i as a manual, but as a suave, sophisticated, executive express sort of a package, this car has a lot to like about it. Now, in terms of its performance claims, BMW says 4.4 seconds, and here on screen is what it can actually do. This car is a rocket. If not the quickest in its segment, very close. And in the real world, you can deploy that power even in slippery situations, because the M340i for Australia has xDrive, all-wheel drive. And in a lot of performance cars, all-wheel drive can tend to make it very neutral and kind of ruin the fun, but that's not a problem in the M340i because it's incredibly rear-biased all-wheel drive, and it lets you still crack on and have all of the same fun that you would have in a rear drive 3 Series, but with the benefits of having traction in slippery circumstances. This car's going to work better when the roads are a little icy or a little slick, but of course we are on summer tires here, so you'd have to be careful regardless. Now, the handling of the 3 Series has long been, one of this car's unique selling points, and there have been high and low points for the BMW throughout its history. The previous generation, you had to be very careful with specification to ensure that it handled and rode well. The new 3 Series, you still have to be a bit careful. You need adaptive dampers to make this car ride properly. They're standard on the M340i, so that takes that decision just off your plate. And this car combines a lovely, supple ride quality around town with excellent body control on a country road. And that's all just in comfort mode. You don't really need to go to sport mode in this car unless you really like a sort of very jittery, focused ride. For myself, I don't really like to be jiggled around while I'm driving. I prefer an even ride, and that's exactly what the 3 Series gives you in comfort damping mode. The steering is also better on this generation of 3 Series than the old one, but interestingly, only the 4-cylinder models get a completely new steering rack compared to the F30, the previous gen, because of packaging issues with the size of the 6-cylinder engine, but I do still like the steering rack in this car. It's nicely weighted, the ratio is intuitive, I get on well with it, plus we're on Michelin Pilot Sport rubber, which has a good level of stickiness to it as well. And it's not too loud, but also this car has laminated windows as part of the executive package. Definitely nice to have, makes it quieter for highway cruising in particular. Then there's the brakes. We've got M Sport brakes for this car. Blue calipers are standard, they look awesome. If you go for the M Sport Pro package, they change to red. Quite a lot less subtle, another reason why I wouldn't go for that package. The blue calipers are a kind of cool BMW thing. In terms of safety, it's well equipped. BMW's assisted driving suite is one of the best out there. It really locks you onto the center of your lane. So when you're just road tripping on the highway, you want to have as little fatigue as possible. Assisted driving works just great for that. The adaptive cruise control is also smooth. But this car is mainly about that engine. The engine works to brilliant effect. It delivers snappy performance. It delivers impressive fuel economy and great refinement. Obviously, 6-cylinder cars in this segment are starting to be killed off. So if you were thinking about it, if you're sitting on the fence, I'd suggest strongly considering the M340i now. As an independent car reviewer, it's a great day when you get a car that is just good, like this BMW M340i, and arguably it's even a little bit underpriced when you consider it's cheaper than the Audi S4, which is older than this car, and it's 30 grand cheaper than the new AMG C43, which didn't impress me much when I tested it a few weeks ago. By contrast, the M340i just delivers cars like that, death by 1,000 cuts. Phenomenal 6-cylinder engine, good fuel economy, stunning performance, supple ride quality on adaptive dampers, communicative chassis, great build quality, handsome design. In terms of looking for flaws, you're having to talk about things like the LCI styling being a little bit overwrought and the new touchscreen not being as easy to use as the old one. We're kind of clutching at straws. In virtually every other way, the new M340i is just a lovely, lovely vehicle and a car that earns a strong recommendation from myself and the Chasing Cars channel. Not sponsored, not BMW marketing, just a good car, and we like those around here. Keen to know your opinion? Let me know down below in the comments. While you're there, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and as always, thanks for watching Chasing Cars.